The first time the Emperor of the Varillian Imperium felt true fear, it was not on a battlefield. It was not when enemy fleets breached his borders, nor when ancient weapons awakened in forgotten stars. It was not even when the Galactic Council voted against him by a narrow margin, threatening centuries of dominance. It was when his twin heirs refused to eat. They lay in their gilded cradle beneath the crystal dome of the Imperial nursery, two perfect, fragile lives who represented the future of an empire spanning 1,000 systems. Their skin shimmered with the faint bioluminescent patterns of royal blood, their eyes large and unfocused, their tiny claws weakly curled, and they were starving. Royal physicians hovered in silent panic. Nutrient gels had failed, neural appetite stimulators had failed, sacred feeding rituals passed down through 10,000 cycles failed. The twins turned their heads away from every offering. Each passing hour dimmed their glow. The Emperor stood rigid beside the cradle, his taloned hands clenched behind his back, his towering form casting a long shadow across the nursery floor. "Explain," he commanded, voice tight with restrained fury. "Again." The High Nourisher bowed low. "The heirs' digestive systems are functional, Your Radiance. Their bodies reject no sustenance, but they refuse to accept it." "Refuse?" the Emperor echoed. "They are infants." "Yes, Your Radiance, but royal twins are sensitive, bonded. They do not feed without emotional security." The Emperor's crest flared in alarm. Security was the one thing he could not manufacture. The Empire watched, and the twins grew weaker. The nursery had become a war room. Holographic charts hovered in the air, displaying declining energy levels. Priests murmured prayers to ancestral stars. Generals stood uselessly at attention, unsure how to fight hunger with fleets and weapons. The Emperor dismissed them all one by one, until only one figure remained, an anomaly in the heart of Imperial power. David Harper stood awkwardly near the wall, holding a small data tablet in one hand and a soft cloth in the other. He was human, a civilian, a widower, and completely out of place. David had arrived on the capital world months earlier as part of a cultural exchange program. His assignment was humble, childcare consultant. Humans, it seemed, had a reputation across the stars for producing offspring that survived absurd odds through creativity, patience, and inexplicable emotional bonding. David hadn't expected to be summoned to the Imperial nursery. He certainly hadn't expected to see an emperor on the brink of collapse. "They haven't eaten in how long?" David asked gently. The High Nourisher answered before the Emperor could. 36 standard hours. David winced. That's not good. The Emperor turned slowly, towering over the human. "You claim expertise, yet you show no fear." David met his gaze, not defiant, not submissive, just tired. "I'm a single dad," he said simply. "Fear becomes background noise." Silence filled the nursery. The Emperor studied him for a long moment. "Very well," the Emperor said. "You may try. But know this. If you fail, nothing will save you from my grief." David nodded. "Fair." The twins stirred weakly as David approached the cradle. He didn't reach for them right away. He crouched instead, lowering himself to their eye level. "Hey there," he murmured softly. "You two look like you're having a rough day." The High Nourisher stiffened. "He speaks nonsense." "He speaks warmth," the Emperor corrected quietly. David examined the feeding instruments, the ornate spoons, the ceremonial bowls. Too much pressure, too much expectation. Kids felt that. He picked up a small spoon, dipped it into the nutrient paste, and then, much to the horror of the court, set it down again. "No," he said, "that won't work." The Emperor's crest flared. You dare refuse Imperial nourishment? I dare change how it's offered, replied David calmly. He took a deep breath, straightened his back, and lifted the spoon again. Then he smiled, a big, exaggerated smile. Well, look at that. Here comes the airplane. The High Nourisher gasped. An aircraft in the nursery? David made a soft whirring sound, moving the spoon slowly through the air in looping arcs. Vrrr, here it comes, coming in for a landing. The twins' eyes followed the motion. The Emperor froze. David leaned closer, lowering his voice into a playful whisper. Oh no, turbulence. Better open wide so we don't crash. One of the twins blinked. The other made a tiny chirping sound. David paused, didn't push, just waited. Open wide, he said gently. The first twin's mouth opened, just a little. The spoon slipped inside. The nutrient paste disappeared. The nursery erupted in chaos. It ate, a craft physician cried. Energy levels rising. The glow is stabilizing. David didn't celebrate. He immediately turned the spoon again, looping it towards the second twin. Your turn, he said cheerfully. This airplane's got 2 passengers. The second twin hesitated, then opened his mouth wider than the first. Both twins swallowed. Both glowed brighter. The Emperor staggered back as if struck. David continued feeding them slowly, never rushing, never forcing. He made silly sounds, he smiled. He talked to them like people, not symbols of power. Within minutes, the twins were cooing. Within an hour, they slept, bellies full, bodies warm, glowing steadily. The Emperor knelt beside the cradle, an act no ruler had witnessed in centuries. They live, the Emperor whispered. David exhaled, finally letting the tension drain from his shoulders. Told you, sometimes you don't need better medicine, you need better vibes. The High Nourisher bowed deeply, this time to a human. News spread across the Imperium within hours, not of a new weapon, not of a conquest, but of a human father who saved the Imperial heirs with a smile and a childish game. The Emperor summoned David privately the next cycle. You did not treat my heirs as royalty, the Emperor said. David shrugged. Kids don't want to be royalty. They want to be safe. The Emperor studied him, then extended a ceremonial crest, a sign of absolute trust. Then you shall remain, he declared, as guardian of the Imperial young. David blinked. Does that come with snacks? For the first time in recorded history, the Emperor laughed. Years later, when the twins ascended as co-regents, they carried no weapons during their coronation, only a small polished spoon engraved with a single word in human script, smile. And across the galaxy, a truth quietly spread. Humanity was not feared because it conquered. Humanity was feared because it cared.